Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome to the Midday Moment. I am your host, Dr. Davina Jones, Assistant Spiritual Leader of today's church and fivefold General for Church of the Everlasting Kingdom, headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland. I enjoy growing in these spiritual communities, learning how to be my best self, just as you need physical exercises so that your body can show up where and how you need it to. You need your spiritual exercises so that your soul, your mind, what you're thinking, your intellect, how you filter those thoughts, your feelings that you're feeling, and your will, how you make decisions. Those four components of your being, we call it the soul in our spiritual communities. And you need spiritual exercises for that soul, for your soul, so that you can show up and be healthy. Your soul can show up and be healthy. You can make good decisions, quality decisions. You can be centered and grounded in a way that helps you to live your best life, that helps you to overcome. I do the midday moment because there's a certain way that I live, a certain way that I approach life so that I can overcome on purpose. I don't run away from my questions. I run into my questions. So it helps me to overcome on purpose and live more triumphantly. There's a way that I live my life so that I can live on purpose. I got a plan for my body. I got a plan for my health. Got a whole little thing of vitamins sitting right over there. Some waiting for me. I started some, got to finish some more. But I got a plan for my body. I'm speaking affirmations about my body. I'm listening to my body, listening, paying one of my therapists, not one, I really only had one therapist. She says pain in the body is a gift because it's talking to you. It's letting you know where love is needed in your body and in your thought process. So I got a plan for health. I got a plan for my harmony and relationships. I talked about that yesterday, my FRP. I'm in Florida and we have an FRP, a Florida retirement plan if you work for the state. But I'm not talking about your retirement plan for the state. I'm talking about approaching every situation, every gathering with an understanding of being friendly, offering yourself to be friendly, respectful, and to honor the purpose of the moment. I talked about that yesterday. This is going to be a little bit of a continuation of that in some way. And so I overcome on purpose. I live on purpose and I seek to live out my purpose. I believe that each of us, we come into this earthly experience with different gifts, talents, and sensitivities to help us answer the question of why. Because if you're feeling it, there's a why. If you're moved by it, that's a why. Well, that's a good segue into my sharing for today as I share out loud my spiritual practices, how I pray, think, meditate, what I'm thinking, what I'm praying, what I'm meditating, how I'm navigating life. I do it out loud, sharing a little bit of my business, sharing a little bit of my thought process, being a little vulnerable, so that you can be encouraged as well. As I often listen to the daily download taught by Dr. Zara R. Pulley, my spiritual leader, and spiritual father, as I study with him and in our communities, I'm often moved, triggered, all the things. And yesterday, there was an amazing teaching that he did. And I'm going to do a version of it and share it with you because it's helping me to place some of my thoughts, y'all. It's helping me to place some feelings. I got feelings and I got thoughts about things that we are experiencing present day, here in the United States and abroad. I got feelings and I got thoughts about it. And I think it's important that we own all of that and make sure that we're navigating it in the most productive way. And so because this is a spiritual community, we make no bones about it. We're sharing what works for our faith. We're sharing what works for us, what helps us to get lifted, to stay lifted, and to share from a lifted place so that we can keep lifting the energy of love, positivity, progression, productivity, and all that stuff. Now, I know it's a lot of stuff going on. I'm not saying that it ain't nothing happening. It is. That's what I was meaning a minute ago. All sorts of things happening. You name it, it's occurring. And at the same time, I do believe that the light is getting brighter and brighter because sometimes I say to people, ask me if I'd like to live, if I prefer to live in 1926 or 2026. That's what I'm picking, y'all. I'm picking 2026. I'm picking 2026. And I believe that it was intentional that I came into this earthly experience for 2026 and not 2026. I think I got some goods. I got the goods. I got what I need to exist and to coexist in 1926. In 2026. All right. So the title of today's study, the title of today's contemplation for me that I'm sharing with you, I took some notes here because I typed it. I've included it here, but got to see it for myself. And I typed. Sometimes I don't always. I'm not always very specific with my notes, but I am today because I need to make sure I stay centered and focused. Because sometimes your passion can take off and you end up in some places, then you got to retract. Okay. So today's topic, contemplation, is an uncomfortable Bible study. It's an uncomfortable Bible study. I went through a couple of different topics and I landed on this, an uncomfortable Bible study. Judges 19, which was yesterday's daily download that anyone can listen to. Daily download, it is what it says, daily download. Now make sure I share it as well. It was about Judges chapter 19. And to make a long story short, there's a very, very horrific, we'll say, lesser light, evil, dark situation where a woman, a man's concubine, is interesting because in parts of the scripture it says concubine, in other parts her husband. So she was gang raped overnight and then returned, and out of grief and all sorts of things, her husband then killed her, dismembered her body, and sent pieces out. Then there was a war that broke out between Israel, and the Benjamites, I think. Let me make sure I'm reading here. And so a really uncomfortable, it's a very uncomfortable Bible study. But I decided not to shy away from this Bible study, even though I've been I've spent some time being parallel with the daily download, and then sometimes I've got to honor some other things that are just kind of working in me, and yet the daily download is yet speaking. And so I desire to reflect and share with you this uncomfortable Bible study. Three things I desire to share with you in this story. Whether you read the Bible literally, whether you read it as literature or for life application, it is very clear in this Bible that many of us hold to be so sacred that in many of these cultural conversations, I know we talk about the Bible being the infallible word of God and so forth. I'm gonna get to that in number two, but number one, in these cultural demonstrations, in the midst of these cultural conversations about God, and I'm saying it that way for a reason, that the Bible is holding these conversations about God, and some of it is people talking and narrating what they currently feel and see as it relates to God. It's not necessarily God's ultimate, but it's what it's what they can see. They're doing the best that they know to do in the moment with their understanding. And I am going to say that their understanding is not as great as our understanding is now. Yes, I'm going to say that. Why? Because eventually we go from faith to faith, strength to strength, and glory to glory. 100 years from now, I expect for individuals to have revelations that we don't currently have. I expect that. I expect that. I'm rooting for that. I'm rooting for us to keep evolving in our understanding of spirit, of light, of love, of God, of good. I'm rooting for that. Okay. I know some people already saying, see, that's why I don't deal with the Bible now. All right, just hold on, because I've been there too. All right. So it's very clear in this study. It's an uncomfortable Bible study, but there's no use in us lying and playing around it. It shows us that in many of these cultural conversations, even about God, as people are evolving in God, that these women are not, they're not seen as human. They're seen less than human, and certainly less than men by gender. Period, point blank. When you read through scripture, old and new, you see that. Okay. Number two, when you believe that a war and a temporary victory, we won the war, because this leads into a whole war right here. All right. When you believe that the wars you read about and these temporary victories for the people of Israel and so forth, when you believe that that is God's best, then that's the kind of God you serve. And then it makes sense. It makes sense why we see what we see now out of many Christians, because they believe in a God that this is the best. This is the highest and the best. This is the best we could do. Have a war, duke it out. Somebody wins and somebody loses. This is the best. If particularly if you're reading this literally, that's the best. You get a chance, you give yourself an opportunity to pull some other principles and nuggets out if you can open your mind and read this from a standpoint of literature and life application. Some people only read it literally. And so if you believe that this is God's best, war and a temporary victory, and I say temporary because y'all know every time you turn around, there's some kind of battle, there's some kind of war, there's some kind of me against you. If you believe that this is God's ultimate, then it makes sense. It makes sense why people who say they are Christians, I mean, in the droves, in the masses, that they support very vicious conversations about other humans. It makes sense. If you believe that this is God's highest and best in the sacred text, then that is the God you serve, and that is the God you are like, because we become like the God we serve. Then it makes sense why people can be so vicious. It makes sense to each other, to other countries and legislation, it makes perfect sense why people can stand and say, I'm a Christian and I serve God, I serve Jesus, and they look like this. Judges 19. It makes sense. Makes sense. Number 3. So number one was, when you read the Bible, you're reading these conversations, these cultural conversations about how people are experiencing and trying to understand God. And it is very clear that, for example, women are less than human and certainly less than men. All right. Number 2, when you believe that these kinds of wars, us against them, we against you, when you believe that that is God's best, then it makes sense why people can be so vicious even now in 2026 in the name of God, that people can be so vicious. And yet, number 3, I always come back to this number 3. I always come back because it works for me. That in Matthew 22, chapter 22, Jesus, because Jesus said, follow me. He didn't say worship me, he said, follow me. So we follow these teachings and we study these teachings. And I expect 100 years from now for people to take this study and take these teachings and keep evolving. In Matthew 22, when they asked Jesus, well, what's the greatest commandment? Is it don't do this? Is it don't do this? You don't commit adultery. You don't do this. You don't do this. What's the greatest? And Jesus said, on these 2 things, and if you dissect it, you can pull out 3. On these 2 things, you can hang every law and every intended lesson of divine. You can put all the lessons of divinity. You can put all the lessons of so-called God, Jehovah. You can put all the lessons of what we now call Christianity. You can put them all on these 2 things. You dissect it as 3. To love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. It's that last part, y'all. It's that last part. That's the juicy part. It's the last part. It's the juicy part. To love the Lord God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. You break that up and kind of do a little math right there, kind of dissect it and pull it out. Love God, love yourself, and love your neighbor, because love your neighbor as yourself, meaning you can't love your neighbor if you're not loving yourself. And therein lies the problem. I will preach this until I get another understanding. Therein lies the problem. You don't really love yourself. There's no way you can love yourself as a divine expression of God in the earth and do the kind of stuff we're doing in 2026 and in Judges 19. There's no way. You don't love yourself. That's what it boils down to. Domestic violence. You don't love yourself. So you gotta beat up on him or her. Usually it's a her, because it's usually a power dynamic in there, because we still navigating through these cultural things here. about how we see other people, and including gender. And in the daily download, this was titled Women Are Divine. So because you don't love yourself, you don't see yourself as a thou. Martin Buber calls it the I thou, because you don't see yourself as a thou, as a divine expression in the earth. You got to do something to prove yourself big. Whether in one historical setting, we'll say that way, you got beat up on the women. And another historical setting, you got beat up on the Egyptians, or you got beat up on the people of Israel. You got beat up on the Egyptians. Come back to that, because everybody has been at some point. Everybody has been on one side or the other. These are not all the stories collected in the Bible of human history, but it's certainly a sacred conversation that's demonstrating parts of human history that hopefully we can learn from. So, in one setting, in one historical setting, the women are the oppressed, Israelites are the oppressed, different groups of people, and so on and so forth. You come into a more contemporary history and talk about slavery. You can come into a more contemporary history and talk about the Holocaust. The only way this stuff, you can come right now and talk about human trafficking. You talk about child abuse. You talk about how someone can get caught with marijuana and get 20 years. Somebody rape a child and get 8 years. Come on. But the only reason why you even do this stuff in the first place is because you don't love yourself. And then the way we respond to it also depicts we don't love ourselves. The answer is and will always be love God. To understand God as love. And it's challenging, because if you just only take these stories as the highest and best, and you don't keep evolving, and you don't allow yourself to go through there and pull out some life application to see what the intention was. And that's why I always come back to Matthew 22. Somebody, you pick your own thing. My dad always goes back to John 13. I think it's John 13:35. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, because you have love one from another. Some people go to other scriptures. You pick. I'm just saying what's my go-to. Matthew 22 is my all-time go-to, because he said, on this, you can hang all the laws, all the intentions, everything that was intended for you to understand from the Old Testament and the New, even after he's gone, because we still working on stuff. We still arguing and debating on baptism. Do you baptize this way? Do you baptize this way? We still debating on, can women be priests, bishops, and all. We still got some stuff. We still got some work to do. And I'm still coming back to Matthew 22. But I'm also offering this, and I'm going to come into my closing here, because I do believe that in all of this, love is going to be the answer. To understand that God is love, to understand that you are an image of God, an image of that love. And until you do that, you will not see me or anybody else. You're going to find a reason, until you can believe that, until you can see that, until you can understand that we truly are one, until you can understand that we are one. All of human nature is one. Universal oneness is what the daily download talk about. Until you can see that, then you will be participating in this vicious cycle of learning and understanding, and what we often do to each other, because we refuse. I like the way Mark Buckingham said, I think his name is Marcus Buckingham. He says it, that love is an unwavering commitment to our well-being. I think he says to another's well-being. I still like Matthew 22, but I like a portion of that too. To love, because if you're only committed to somebody else's well-being and not yourself, you're gonna be shy of some things. So it has to be all of that. And until you see yourself as a divine expression of God in the earth, no matter the shade of your skin, no matter your gender, until you can see yourself as a divine expression of God, then you will find a way to belittle and demean somebody else, someone, so that you can feel godly. And I also say this as I close. for individuals that I see individuals. I've seen individuals historically, and I see individuals now. Listen, you can't fight hate with hate. You can't cuss. I know it's challenging. I know it's challenging. I know it's challenging. I know it's challenging. But if you only, I saw a video this morning that, yep, that's what we gotta do. Somebody was screaming out the window at somebody the N-word, and the person said, you know what? I love you too. I'm be praying with you. Because I know that's the best you got right now. That's the best you got. It's the best you got. But when you come back at that, cussing and cursing and flipping and carrying on, it's just tit for tat. It's just tit for tat. So, in all that we are experiencing, some people call it injustice and so on and so forth, and all that we experience, it as you hold conversations, I'm gonna repeat what I said yesterday. Go into these conversations with the position of being a friend. Now, I didn't say you gotta let people walk over you, but I'm saying coming with the attitude of kindness. Come with an attitude of grace, and you can still do that with boldness and courage and firmness. You can stand flat-footed and be kind. You can stand flat-footed and be courageous. You can stand flat-footed and be loving and tell the truth. This is not right, and you got time to make it right. It's not right, but you got time to make it right. It's not right, but you got time. You got time. There's a window. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your generation. I'm praying for your legacy, because you don't want it to be this. I really don't think you want it to be this. So there's a way to have these conversations as you understand your posture of friendship, your posture of respect and dignity, and your posture of understanding what's the purpose at hand. I didn't come to match your energy, as we say in my community. I came to transcend your energy. You can do all of that lovingly, courageously, boldly, truthfully. And I promise you, we're going to keep getting some outcomes. I know it don't look like it. I know it doesn't look like it, but come on, y'all. We actually have gotten better. Now, maybe we didn't go as far as we thought. We thought we were all in high school. Looks like we still in third grade. But we're making some headway. So let's keep going, okay? Let's keep doing the best of what we know to do, and let's rise above. Let's operate in the highest consciousness. Yes, I know. I still believe in going high. I do. But there's a way to do it, and you can do it. We can do it courageously, boldly. And going high doesn't mean you can't tell somebody the truth. It doesn't mean that you can do it. We can speak truth to power, and we can do it in love. I love you. God bless you. I went a little longer today, but that's been brewing in me, and so I went a little longer today. So let's stand together. And I said in another midday moment, let's even practice some definitions of love. Let's practice. I had encouraged us to start some hashtags. Define love. God is love, and offer some definitions. Love is universal oneness. Love is the unwavering commitment to our well-being, to each other's well-being, to each of our well-being. To if it's harming one, then it's harming all. So let's find a way that everyone has the opportunity. You can't force goodness on somebody, but we certainly can make sure that people have an opportunity to experience it. All right. That's it for today. That's enough. I love you. God bless you. God be you. Take care, everybody. Don't be stingy. Like and share. Join us on the KANTV YouTube station, where we are hosting 24 hours a day inspirational teachings to encourage you, and to inspire you, to assist you in being lifted in your consciousness, so that you can navigate life successfully, strategically, intentionally, and abundantly. All right. Take care. Love you. Bye.